Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith. Leicester City 0, Manchester United 3. We've won 3-0. We've had goals from Garnacho. We've had a goal from Bruno. We've had Rasmus Hojlund breaking his goal drought as well. It is great to see, although it has been tainted somewhat by the injury to Aiden Heaven. We'll get into all that shortly. Make sure before we do, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Hit that like button, please, people. Joe, I mean, we are going to get to the Aiden Heaven injury in a minute, which obviously is very sad, and hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. But in terms of the performance and the goals, it was almost like a perfect afternoon, really, or evening, I should say. Confident
attacking display, team chemistry. I thought, good shooting, good decision making. An opponent that was struggling, I think. They didn't look up to much whatsoever. Clearly in a bad run of form and not cracked up for this level. But that's enough about the Carabao Cup final, Jay. I think we should talk about Manchester United. And United played very well today. There were times where Leicester made a little bit more than they should have done from the game. I think they had a few more shots and they got into our box a little bit more than I would have liked. Never really made anything of it. But I think generally speaking, we saw more good play from Manchester United, that we, following on from what we saw against Sociedad. We saw strikers having shots. I said to you, 40 seconds in, Hojlund had a shot. And I know that's a very low bar, the striker has a shot, so what? He averages one shot or less per game. So the fact that straight away there was chances and that we were getting the ball to him in the box, and I think he just trying to hook it over his shoulder, put it just wide, and it was a decent effort. It was a sign of things to come. And I thought a few players had very good games today. I thought Aiden Heaven was excellent, and we'll talk specifically about his injury in a bit, which is absolutely gutting, but he played very, very well. Bruno Fernandes again, just a phenomenal performance, doing all the right things as he always does. I thought De Ligt was absolutely excellent as well. Just an absolute rock at the back. And it was nice to see Hojlund and Garnacho break their ducks as well, because they've not scored, I think, in a combined 38 games or something in the Premier League.
Ridiculous, ridiculous.
Really
you think
poor.
He sounds too long to be true, but he's actually accurate.
Yeah, and both goals were good, and Garnacho had a second goal disallowed, which was just offside, but again, it shows the intent and it shows the danger that he brought to the game. Really good. What more could you ask for, really? Again, other than the Heaven injury, we're getting assists out of people, we're getting goals from players who haven't scored in a long time. We win the game comfortably. I know Leicester aren't very good, but look at all the teams who aren't very good that we've struggled against this season. I'm not, going to overlook anyone just because they're not playing very well. So, yeah, really good performance generally, and some specifically good things in particular, those goals from Garnacho and Hojlund. Really good.
Yeah, it is. We'll talk about the Aiden Heaven injury, and then we'll get on to more positive things. We don't know the nature of that yet. I don't think we're going to find out anything soon. We will obviously hear from the manager shortly. He's probably going to have an initial update in whether he's gone to hospital, whether he's, what we think it might be, whether they're going to have him x-rayed, whether it's a break or it's ligament damage, they think. We're not going to know, but we might have an update there. So obviously we'll see what it is, and it's going to take a little while before we have any idea how long he's out for. But that first until the injury, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
He was, and I thought, I was saying it just before kickoff about how impressed I was with him against Sociedad. I thought, especially playing out from the back, there was a couple of times Onana gave him the ball when he was under pressure, and he handled it really well. He's looked pretty confident. I thought he did well when he came on against Fulham, but today he took it to another level, didn't he? It was ridiculously good performance. You're getting really excited. But as is anyone in this Manchester United team, other than maybe Bruno, who shows some good form, who becomes one of the players you think this manager can rely on, they seem to get injured. Just with Heaven, it's happened almost immediately. You look at Ahmad, he was like our main attacking threat. He gets injured. Martinez, he became someone that was just like, this is the guy getting goals, and he looks like the Martinez that we saw in that first scene under Erik ten Hag. Then he gets injured for the rest of the season. And Kobbie Mainoo, who we've not really seen much of this season, but is a player that would play a lot of games for Manchester United if he was fit. The manager was singling him out, saying, maybe he's better further up the pitch and all the rest of it. He gets injured for quite a long time. So it has been a sort of, a running theme this season. I just hope that, obviously, Heaven isn't too serious, or however serious it isn't too, long term, and he can recover from it fully. But there's definitely a player there. We've seen enough of him already to see. I'm not just saying, he played well against the Leicester team that are doomed. He's played well ever since he's come to United. He's only a teenager, and you can understand why United was so keen to bring him in from Arsenal. Let's talk about Hojlund. Let's go back to the first goal, because Rasmus Hojlund, 21 games without a goal. I can't imagine how you get your head around that as a United attacker, United striker. It's got to be difficult, because obviously the pressure, the expectation. The first season you had 16 goals. This season, not really got going. We're into the middle of March. You've gone 21 games without a goal. The fans have been a bit up and down with him. I think it's safe to say. I've seen games where they've been behind him, games where they're getting a bit tetchy. But his finish was fantastic for that goal. It really was. And what impressed me was, I said it on the watch along, was he had a little bit of time to think. And sometimes when you're struggling, when you've got time to think as an attacker, that can be a bad thing. Instinctive finishes are probably better for you. But he didn't overthink it. He got the ball under control, did well, and on his weaker foot, a finish into the side netting, that, you know, obviously the right side of the side netting, where the keeper had basically no chance. Just a really good goal. Yeah,
really good goal. And the sort of goal, like you said, that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be the one that brings you out of a really rough patch. You'd want a tap in on the line, or, you know, bobbling one from a corner that you can't really help but put in, or whatever. And instead, he's had to carry the ball from sort of 35 yards out, 2 or 3 touches, driving into the box. He's got defenders closing him down, and on his weak foot, he's cracked it across the goal, right in the bottom corner as well. It's brilliant, and it's a sign as well of what he is capable of, because all those things I just mentioned, you can't take any of them for granted. If a player's very slow, they can't get away from their men. If the player's very one-footed, they won't score that goal. If a player's head is completely gone, they'll put it wide. Like, he had to show 2 or 3 different sides to his game there in order to score that goal. And that's when I look at him and I think, there is a player there. And I've not been someone that's ruled him out at all during this rough patch. And I'm not saying that now everything's fixed because he's got 1 goal either. I'm certainly not saying that. But he shows things that not everyone has. And sometimes his touch was poor and stuff, but he actually had some really nice little flicks and layoffs tonight, again, following on from the Sociedad game. And I think if you can get the ball and drive into the box and put it in the back of the net on your weak foot, those are strengths and attributes that will always be valuable in football. So I just think if we can get him on form, get him confident, there is a player that we know he can score at least 16 goals a season because he did it last season. Obviously, the next step is doing that consistently. But let's just work towards feeding him, getting the ball in good areas, like we did tonight. The ball over from Bruno was fantastic. Bit of a mix-up from the defender, but it was a really good pass, and he took it really well. Let's just keep doing that and see what happens. I don't like ruling players out and saying he's never going to be good enough, he's terrible, this, that and the other. I just think he's going to play, keep giving him the ball and see what happens, because, like I said, he's already shown a handful of characteristics just in that goal that not every striker in the world has. So let's try and emphasise those and celebrate those. I thought he did well.
Yeah, you've got to get behind him. Look, whether you rate him or not, he's our only number 9 at the minute. I know you've got Cheeto, but in Europe he's our only number 9 because Cheeto's not eligible. So get behind the kid. I was talking about this outside Old Trafford the other week. We have just got to get behind him, and then obviously in the summer the manager can assess it and say, look, who do we need to bring in? Do we need another one? I think we are going to need another striker. Where does Rasmus fit into my plans long term? But certainly for the time being, we it's all right. We need him, and you know he's shown enough in his first season and in sort of fits and starts this season, especially in the last couple of games, that there is a player there. He had a positive game against Sociedad and a good goal today as well, and a good all-round game as well. I thought he was involved in a lot of the good stuff that Manchester United did, and it's good to see him and Garnacho linking up as well, because them two have had a few issues. I think there's a bit of no love lost there between them, but I know the goal that was obviously Hojlund Garnacho was disallowed, but they still linked up a little bit anyway, and we still saw there was a bit, celebrating together and stuff like that. You just want to see United players gelling, especially in the final third. Do hit that like button, please, people. We've got almost 3,000 people watching. Also, give us a subscribe. We'll put a subscribe link in the chat. Hit that subscribe button. We want to get to 790,000 subscribers. In fact, we don't. We want to get to 800,000 subscribers. Loads of love for Bruno Fernandes in the chat. Also, Linton Moodley says, bittersweet game with Heaven's injury. I agree with that. Ross Murphy says, I know Hojlund is a talented striker. I saw it last season. He just needs more service. Yes, overall he needs to do more off the ball, but he can be a clinical striker. Stu Campbell says, happy with that. Even though Leicester are struggling, I'm glad our forwards could get some goals today. Hopefully we can get a string of decent results to finish off the season. Another goal scorer we can talk about is Alejandro Garnacho. Had one disallowed and got a goal. He's had a difficult season, I think, if we're being brutally honest. On the whole, he seems to have there seems to become a little bit of a divide between him and the fans. Some of his social media actions haven't gone down too well. He's not been amongst the goals and assists like he has been since he sort of burst onto the scene. Rumours of him maybe going to Napoli in the January transfer window. Even this summer, he's been linked with a move maybe to Chelsea. We don't know what's going to happen there. But a good game from him today, I felt. And Garnacho doing what he does best, just being a nightmare for the opposition defenders, creating things, running with the ball. and just trying to make things happen.
Yeah, he needs a lot of credit for his performances recently. He's definitely looked more dangerous, looked a bit more selfless as well, which I think is one of the criticisms people have had of him. And I think Amram needs a bit of credit for that as well. Putting him on the right-hand side, we've seen a different player. It gives him the ability to shoot across goal on his strong foot rather than having to cut back and curl it with his strong foot. He can hit it, first time across goal, which is a good thing. And also, it limits his ability to take the ball outside of the box and shoot. It's hard to shoot from 18 yards out when you're kind of whipping it across goal with your strong foot, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's much easier if you're curling it far post. So it's kind of limited one of his weaknesses, which is shooting unnecessarily, and emphasised one of his strengths, which is getting the ball off quickly and having shots across goal. So it's done a good job there. And what it's also done is it's meant that he's had to square the ball more often. It encourages him to put the ball into the box. And it's easy for him to cross on his strong foot, crossing the ball. It's done a lot of things that I think has helped him out, especially in this system. And Amram and Garnacho obviously need credit for that. It's not easy to switch sides and do something different, but I think that Amram spoke about it after the game the other day, and I think it's been a very good decision, and he looks like a more dangerous player all of a sudden. Like I said, today he scored 2 goals. One of them was disallowed, but he still scored it. He still got in a great area. He still put the ball in the back of the net. He did 98% of what it takes to score a goal. The 2% he missed was being, that much offside. So I think you still have to give him credit for just the general performance, looking more dangerous as a player, and linking up with his teammates better. I think it's really good, and I'm impressed with him. And as we've seen with everyone, I think in 2025 or since January, I think we've played 17 games, we've won 9, we've drawn 4 and we've lost 4. Like, that is a lot better than how we have been playing. And I think as well, one of those draws was the first leg against Sociedad, which ended up being a win overall. So you can give us a little bit more credit for that as well. Things are definitely looking better. We are playing better individually. Players look better. They seem to know the system more. Things are moving in the right direction, and it's been a while since we've been able to say that.
Yeah, some people in the chat here are saying that Hojlund has done an interview with Norwegian TV. I think it's Viaplay, saying that Heaven was walking around in the dressing room and looked okay. But I need to get that stood up there. I think Martin Hall has said that. If we can maybe have a little look and see if we can find any update from if Hojlund has done an interview in Danish or to Norwegian television in Danish. If anyone can find that, if we can get that stood up. I am sort of having a look here, but it's difficult because I'm just sort of looking at the comments and looking on social media. So we'll have a look into that. We'll see if we can get that found out.
It feels unlikely, doesn't it?
It does, but that I mean, a few people have said that. So
obviously that quote is going around social media, isn't it? It's just whether it's true or not, I guess.
So great. I think there might be something in it, but we'll find out. Great. So yeah, we'll try and get that stood up. But yeah, a lot of people saying that Hojlund has said.
How good would that be?
Well, yeah, we'll see because we don't know just yet. But if you can find that and send us a link or whatever, that'd be great. Because I'm trying to multitask and I'm not good at it. Shashank Asworth Ranayana says big kudos to Stretford Paddock. I live in the US, so rarely manage to see you live. So just wanted to send this on. This odd time I'm seeing you live. Thank you for your support. We absolutely loved being over in the States. Been there last few years, or last couple of years I should say, for the pre-season tour, and the amount of United fans over there is very impressive. Yeah. So passionate as well. All good to see. Again, people we're just trying to get this news.
I'm just trying to find this as well.
We will try and find it.
Everyone's quoting that same interview, but without any video of it or
right. Yeah, directly. That's why we can't say for definite whether that is the case.
I've got what Amram said. If you want me to read
let's have that.
So he said, it's hard to know because we have to evaluate during the week. He already played well against Arsenal and Sociedad. Today for me was the most difficult game for him because we expect him to relax a bit, but he was so focused. So he kind of plays it down a little bit in terms of his recovery and the fact that he's doing better or whatever that Hojlund said. And the supposed quote from Hojlund before we, while we get it stood up, says that Heaven was walking around in the locker room and looked okay. I don't know if I should say this, but I think he's fine. That's what Hojlund supposedly said to Norwegian Viaplay. So we'll have to see.
We'll see. Listen, we don't need an initial thing anyway. We'll find out. There's plenty of good time for that. We just hope that he's all right. Just finally as well, I want to talk about Bruno Fernandes. Because a few people in the chat have mentioned it. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes, who, I mean, it's weird to say this, but I often think with Bruno he's underrated.
Yeah.
Like, for someone who's goals, assists, constantly available, plays in about 5 different positions he's played for Manchester United since he arrived. his numbers are ridiculous. If you care about numbers, he's always in the top end of the assist chances created, goals, everything that you can think of when it comes to attacking play. Plus he's the captain. Plus he's recent memory turned up in the FA Cup final, a big game, helped us win that one. Yeah, he still seems to have these detractors who say, part of the problem is Bruno Fernandes. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's the sort of player that you need to enjoy him. You need to enjoy him while he's here, because when he's gone, everyone will remember how good he was. And then it'll be, Bruno was such a good player for United. As soon as he walks out the door at Manchester United, no one will be in any doubt about how good he is. Part of the problem at the minute is opposition fans, opposition sort of pundits want to downplay what he does and wants to act as though it's easy to come in and get 30 goals and assists almost every season. From midfield as well, by the way. He's not an attacker, he's not a number 9. And half the time he's playing on the left, on the right, a little bit deeper as he has done tonight. He's an absolutely phenomenal player, and we should enjoy that and appreciate it while he's still at Man United. Because what is he, 30 years old now? He might never win a league title here. But that doesn't mean he's not world class. And he has been almost every season he's been at Manchester United. He's a world class player. He is our best player, and we should enjoy that, and we should appreciate him, and we should laud him while we can. Because at some point he'll leave and we'll go, Bruno was underrated, wasn't he? Let's rate him now. Let's say how good he is now. I know you do.
Yeah.
I just think this whole thing of Bruno's the problem. He's not the fucking problem. He's absolutely not the problem. There's so many problems at Man United, but Bruno Fernandes helping out his teammates on and off the ball constantly at a world-class rate. Not just like United fans overrating him, just like statistically he's world-class. Let alone the eye test, let alone what he is for the team, let alone the shambles of a team he's playing in, and he's still managing to put up these numbers. Bruno Fernandes, Joshua Zirkzee, Rasmus Hojlund and Garnacho before tonight hadn't scored in something like 50 league games. And Bruno Fernandes has still got 15 assists this season.
Yeah.
Or 14 assists, I think, if one of them was disallowed. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Your strikers can't score and you're still one of the best creators in the world.
It's mad. We
have to appreciate him, because otherwise we're going to look back and go, I didn't like him at the time, but Bruno was ace, wasn't he? Enjoy it now.
You know, when you look at certain teams, like look at Arsenal, who are right at the top of the table, doing really well, obviously, in terms of the league position, been in title challenges the last 3 years. I'm sorry, Bruno Fernandes is just walks into that team.
Of course he does.
He just does. He's better than Odegaard.
He walks into every team in the Premier League.
If you want to replace him with Odegaard, he just is. He walks into that team. He could get in a title-winning team easily. And he's at a Manchester United team that you've got strikers that aren't scoring, you've got defensive frailties, yet he always manages to deliver. And yes, there's times when he can try and do a little bit too much, and certain things he does might frustrate you or whatever, but imagine being Bruno Fernandes in this team. Imagine you've gone into a team when you arrived, you had a front three in front of you, Greenwood, Martial and Rashford, who just get 60-odd goals between them. You had Paul Pogba next to you, you had Herrera and Matic and players like that around you. Then it keeps changing, and the quality seems to get lower and lower, and players are constantly injured, and managers keep changing, and your role changes, and you're asked to play in different positions, but you keep going and you keep putting in the performances. And what do you get? What thanks do you get? You get ex-United players slagging you off, you get the media sort of always pointing out your faults and making up narratives about you that aren't even true, and you get a small section, it should be, a very small section of the United fan base who don't rate you. He's also mentioned the fact that he did have an offer, or he could have left in the summer, but he didn't. He stayed, and I'm glad he did. Naveen says it. Bruno is now the 6th player after Cantona, Rooney, Scholes, Giggs and Beckham to have 58 goals and assists for United in the Premier League. I mean, that says it all. Lollipop.
And look, and think of the people that they were assisting and being assisted by, and Bruno's done that. And I'm not saying that he's better than those players. But, the environment that he's done, something that only United legends, they are all Manchester United legends, those players. Cantona, Rooney, Scholes, Giggs and Beckham are unquestionably Manchester United legends. And Bruno has put himself in that category amongst a far sort of weaker team and teammates in that time. It's amazing. He is amazing.
I just love it. Me and you've said it a few times. There was a time when Brian Robson used to carry the Manchester United team, and eventually got a Premier League title because he was there still when we won the title in 92, 93, and then again 93, 94. I love Bruno Fernandes to still be around and still be part of the squad, if not the team, by the time United hopefully get our act together and are winning titles again, because he certainly deserves to be winning the top honours at Manchester United. Not that the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup aren't big trophies, but he should be
It's a
winning
league
titles.
title, isn't it? At Man United, if it's the Premier League, that's the one.
That's the one, and he's good enough. He's certainly good enough to do that, and he certainly deserves it as well for Manchester United. We're going to be back a little bit later on. We're going to be hearing from Andy Tate, getting some more reaction as well. So if you're not doing so already, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. There's a subscribe link in the chat. Go and check out Joe as well on Sloppy Joe's podcast. You know where to find me. This has been a live review. Manchester United beating Leicester City 3-0. The Reds go marching on. Thanks for watching.